So I speak to a lot of women who are, really kind of ready to jump ship and they want to work for another company, another industry, the grass is always greener, that kind of thing. And by the way, sometimes like obviously if you're working in a really toxic environment or in a culture that's just not aligned with your values, moving on is definitely the right thing. But so often what I find is that there is actually joy in your current role. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of work to figure out what that is. And there's this one exercise that I love that I have in the book, Embrace the Work, Love Your Career, where I ask women to look at their calendar for the last few months and find those meetings, those experiences, those events that put a smile on their face. And then really kind of think about like, okay, what was it about that experience that was so fulfilling? Was it the type of problem that I was solving? Was it the skills that I was using? Was it the people that I was working with? What was it that was so joyful and so fulfilling? And is there a way that I can do more of that? And I want to share my own personal story because I actually did this exercise going back to when I was a time bank. I'd been there for 8 years. My job had gotten really big. And what I found was that it did get big, but it also got more administrative. And I actually wasn't, enjoying it as much. And when I did this exercise, what I realized was that the part of my job that I really enjoyed the most was meeting with startup founders. So, meeting with the founders of Rent the Runway before they launched, or Foursquare, or Flipboard, thinking about ways that we could partner. I really loved meeting with these founders. I loved their energy. I loved the fact that they were like putting these new products out into the world that I actually wanted to see in the world. And the conclusion that I came to was, what if I could do more of that? What if more of my job could be around innovation and meeting with startups? And I pitched my boss this idea around creating an innovation lab at the company that I would run. And she loved the idea. We got the CEO to approve it. And it actually kept me at the company 2 more years because it was something that I found to be just really energizing and interesting. And if it wasn't for that, I probably would have left, truthfully. But I really enjoy doing that work. And then eventually I did leave, and I decided that I wanted to go like full in on startups, and I became an investor and advisor. That's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. But that exercise was so critical because I was ready to throw in the towel, right? And just being able to kind of take a step back and reflect on like, okay, is there any part of my job that is energizing? And is there a way that I can do more of that? So that's one piece of very tactical advice that I would share. Do that calendar exercise, figure out what it is in your current role that is really energizing you, figure out a way for that to take even more space. And by the way, that means you're going to have to let go of some stuff, and maybe delegate or, convince your manager that maybe that work belongs someplace else. And by the way, there might be people who would be so excited to take on the work that you might find draining, right? That work might really be energizing to others. That's what I found when I built that innovation lab and I decided like, these are the 5 things I need to get off my plate. That's exactly what I found. So doing that introspection and, figuring out kind of what energizes you and then really prioritizing building out your connections, I think are 2 things that can have a really, really significant and positive impact on you and your career.